What's your question? You will get it in the period. So what I want you to do in your notes is just number your work. Okay, so put a number 1 for our first question, because you will get all these word problems on the sheet. So at the end of the period, I will pass out the sheet. So do not write down the word problems. Don't write down the word problems. Okay, so it says a jar of dimes and quarters contains 1525. There are 103 coins in all. How many of each is there? So this is the first type. They give us how many coins we have, so the number of coins, and they give us a value. So they're giving us two different things. So we're going to make a table. We're going to have some columns down here that we're going to write titles, and titles up here. So what does this look like? It looks like the number of coins and the value. And then we're going to have what kind of coins? We have dimes, so these are all my titles, and quarters. No, right now it's just a jar is dimes and quarters. Okay? So dimes and quarters. And then we have a total. So total. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the number of coins. So do I know how many dimes I have? No. So I'm going to use a variable D. Once I put a variable, I have to define it. My D represents what? It represents the number of dimes. You must define each variable on a word problem. Okay, do I know how many quarters I have? No, so I'm going to use a Q. Q is going to represent the number of quarters. So you should be writing all this down. No, I told you you don't have to represent. We'll write down the word problem. Okay, so if I add these up, what is my total number of coins? 103. Now, we're going to do the value. I know a value of the dime is 10 cents. I just don't know the number of dimes I have, but 10 cents times my D, which represents my number of dimes, is going to give me the value of my dimes. Plus, how much is a quarter? 25 times the number of quarters I have. And what's my value going to be? Now, I'm going to write this without a decimal. Why did I write this without a decimal? This is why. Because technically this line looks like this. Okay, this line right here for my value really looks like that. What did we do? So don't write this down. What did we do when we learned how to work equations with decimals? We moved them, right? We multiplied it by a power. We would multiply this by a power. You need to do that test. We would multiply and move all of these to places. That's why I wrote them in whole numbers. Okay? So you're just going to eliminate the decimal from the start. Now, the only thing you have to be careful about is, and we will have an example like this, if this is a whole number, say that just said 15, then you would need to add 2 zeros to it. Okay, and we will have an example like that. All right, so here's my system. I wrote a system. Now I got to solve. What's the best way to solve this? Back, please. What's the best way to solve this? What is this set up for? Anybody? How would you solve this? Substitution. What else? Elimination. Okay, what would you multiply this top equation by? Negative 10. Remember, you got to have opposite signs. So I'd have negative 10d minus 10q equals negative, and then when I multiply by 10, I'm just adding a 0. So 1030. 1030. What's that? All right, so now I would add down. 10d minus 10d is 0. 25q minus 10, oh, sorry, this is a q. Sorry, because I'm taking negative 10 times q. Sorry about that. So 25q minus 10q is 15q equals, and then I would subtract. So this is 495. Now, just to give you a little heads up, your answers are no longer going to be between negative 10 and 10. They're going to be larger. Okay? Can you have a negative number of coins? No, you're not going to have a negative number. Are you going to have a partial coin? No, you're not going to have a partial coin. So, you should have whole numbers. Now, when I divide by 15, I have q equals, 15 goes into 49 3 times, there's 4 left over. 15 goes into 45, 3. So I can start my answer over here. I have quarters equals 33. Now I need to figure out how many dimes I have. So the best way to do it is just substitute in. Which one would be easier to substitute into, the top or the bottom? The top, right? So I have D plus, instead of Q, how many Q's do I have? 33 equals 103. So what are you really doing? You're subtracting. So D equals 70. Be writing this down. D equals 70. So now, I'm not done. Here's my answer, but I want to make sure that I have it right. So I'm going to check. Now, when you check, I already know that 33 and 70 is 103. Okay, that's just the first thing I can do. Just double check. Do the number of coins add up to 103? Yes. The second one is just multiply it times its value, because you want to verify, does it equal this 1525? So 33 quarters times the value of a quarter. 33 times 25, so this is 15, 15, 16, placeholder, 6, 6, so 5. This is 725. 825, thank you. Oh, I didn't carry the 1. Sorry. 8, carry the 1. All right, and then 70 times 10 is 700. So 700 and 825, what does it add up to be? 1525. Did it balance with the value that it said? Yes. So it checked. All right. Next problem. So on your notes, you want to put number 2. Okay, so this is number 2 on the worksheet that I'm going to hand out to you. And these are examples for you on how to do number 3. So a jar of quarters contains, or a jar of quarters and nickels contains $1.25. There are 13 coins in all. How many of each are there? So I want you to write up your number of coins and your value statement. So this is quarters, nickels, total. And then I also want you to define your variable, your variables. So write up your two statements, define your variables, stop. Okay, do we know how many quarters? No, we're going to use Q. Do we know how many nickels? So we're going to use, so when you add those two up, how many is your total? 13. So what does Q represent? What does Q represent? Okay, what does Q represent? Number of quarters. What does N represent? Number of nickels. And don't just put nickels. It's number of nickels. Because if you just say nickels, I don't know if you mean like the value of the nickels, the number of nickels, I don't know what you mean. So don't just put nickels. You got to tell me it's a number of, because this is like a number, like 5 quarters or 3 quarters or 7 quarters. Okay, so make sure that you are telling me the number of. Okay, so my value statement, the value of a quarter is 25 times the number. Got to have variables on this one. This one is 5 times the number, so 5n equals, what's my value? So 125. Remember, we're leaving off the decimals because we're moving them over. All right, if you had that, that's great. I want you to solve. It's set up for elimination. You're going to multiply this one by what? -5. Remember, you got to have that opposite. So go ahead and multiply it and solve. So you should have had -5q minus 5n equals negative, what is that, 65? 65 negative? So 20q equals 60. So when you divide by 20, Q equals? No. Okay, remember when they end in zeros, you can divide by 10. So 6 over 2 is 3. So my answer, I'm going to start my answer. Quarters equals 3. So 3 plus n equals 13. So how much is n? 10. 3 plus 10 is 13. So nickels equals 13. Yes, question? Question? All right. Yes, question? Okay. So, just verify 3 plus 10 is 13. Now we're going to multiply. 3 quarters times my value of 25 cents. 3 times 25 is 75. My dimes, or my nickels, I have 10 nickels times 5 cents. So 10 times 5 is 50. 75 plus 50 is 125. And does that equal my value? Yes. So you know that it checks. Okay, so those are problems 1 and 2. Number 3 is your homework. Now let's go to the next one. So on this, for your notes, on this one, I want you to label it number 4, because this is number 4 on that paper that I'm going to hand you. Marco has 150 coins, all nickels and dimes. He has 12 more dimes than nickels. How many nickels and dimes does he have? So, remember on the last one we had number of coins and a value, right? Do we have the number of coins? Yes, right? We have 150 coins. So we're going to start number of coins. What kind of coins? Nickels and dimes. So, do we know how many nickels we have total? No, we don't. So we're going to use N. So as soon as we use a variable, what does N stand for? Number of nickels. And then, do we know how many dimes we have? No, so we're going to use D. So D represents number of dimes. Question? Not the last ones, no. Okay, so if I add these two up, what is it total? 150. So, do I have a value? No, I do not have a value, right? So when you don't have a value, you have a relationship between the coins. So, when you guys have a relationship, where do you go? You go to the park. And when you're at the park, what do you go on? You go on the teeter-totter. So, when you have a relationship, guys, when you have a relationship, you're going to go to the park. When you go to the park, you go on the teeter-totter. So, quiet please, guys, quiet please. So, when you're on the teeter-totter, the one that has more is down here. Read this statement, guys. Read this statement. Which one has more? Which one has more? Nickels or dimes? Okay, he has 12 more dimes. So the dimes is going to go down here, and nickels is going to go up here. But in a relationship, you want them to be equal. So how do I push this down so it's equal to the D? It says 12 more. So I need to put N plus 12 right here. I need to put that on this side so it brings it down. There's your second equation. D equals N plus 12. Okay? So, what is this problem set up to be? Substitution. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to substitute it in for D. That's what D equals. So I have N plus, instead of D, what am I going to put? N plus 12 equals 150. So what's 1N plus 1N? 2N. 2N plus 12 equals 150. So you should be writing this down. What am I going to do? I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. 2N equals 138. Jane, not going to divide by 2. There was an answer? Well, somebody, last time it was you. Somebody, okay. So when I divide by 2, I have N equals 69. Okay, so I know my nickels. I know the number of nickels, so now I got to find the number of dimes. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take an equation. This is probably easier to substitute into than the top. So my dimes equals 69 plus 12. So my dimes is going to equal 81. So my check, all you can do is check it in these two equations. So The first one is 69 plus 81. What does that equal? 150. And the other one is, how many dimes do I have? I have 81. Does that equal the 69 plus 12? Yes, 81 equals 81. So there's my check. All right, so those are my check statements. Question? Yes. Okay, so the next one I want you to label number 5. All right, please. All right. So, label this one number 5. Tanisha has 70 coins, all quarters and dimes. There are 30 more quarters and dimes. Find the number of each type of coin. So, do we have a number of coins? Yes, so we're going to start with that. Number of coins. And then we're going to title it. We have what? We have quarters and dimes. And then total. All right, so do we know how many quarters we have? No, so we're going to put Q. So as soon as I put a variable, what does Q stand for? Number of quarters. And then, do we know how many dimes? So we're going to put D is number of dimes. So if I add those up, what's my total? 70 points. Okay, do I have a value statement? Does it give me the value of the coins? No. So when you're missing one of the two, what do you have? You have a teeter-totter. You have a relationship. When you have a relationship, you do what? Go to the park. And what do you go on? The teeter-totter. So, nope. Going to the park. Shh. Quiet, please, Luis. So, I want you to look at the statement, and I want you to fill in your teeter-totter, which one has more. Which one has more? Okay, so there's 30 more quarters. So my quarters is going to be down below, and my dimes is going to be up here. But I don't want like that. I want to know when my quarters is going to be equal. So, how do I get my dimes to come down to equal my quarters? What am I going to put? 30 more means plus 30. So, D plus 30. 30 more means add 30. I have 30 more dollars than you, and you have $5. How many do I have? 35. 30 more. Okay, so that's my statement. Q equals D plus 30. That's my other equation, so I put it down. So this is set up for substitution. What am I going to put this in for? Q. Q. So instead of Q, I'm going to put D plus 30, and then I'm going to bring all this down. Plus D equals 70. 1D and 1D. How much is 1D and 1D? 2D plus 30 equals 70. Then solve for D. So subtract 30. And I have 2D equals 40. So divide. D equals 20. So I know dimes equals 20. So now I need to figure out how many quarters I have. So I can look right here. Q plus 20 equals 70. So how many quarters do I have? 50. So your check. 20 plus 50, that equals 70, right, if I add them up. And then, how many quarters do I have? 50. How many dimes do I have? 20, and then plus 30. So, does 50 equal 20 plus 30? Yes. So this is my check, and it checks. Okay, so that's the second type. That's the second type. So, number 6 is just going to be like 4 and 5. Now, label this 7. So, label it 7. Okay, a vending machine. A vending machine takes only nickels and dimes because the quarter slot is broken. So it's only nickels and dimes. There are 5 times as many dimes as nickels in the machine. The face value of the coins is 440. How many of each type of coin are in the machine? So, do we have a number of coins?
Yes. 5 times.
No, but does that give me the total number of coins?
No.
No. I don't have the number. Do I have a value of the coin?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to start value. Okay, so now I'm not starting with the number of coins. I'm starting with the value. My coins are, what, nickels and dimes and a total. All right. So I have a value now. Let's go back to when I had a value, because I was right here. Look at my value statement. My value statement shows the value of that coin times the number of coins. The value of the next coin times the number equals the total value. So, what is the value of my nickel? 5 cents times the number of nickels. Okay, that's going to give me my total value for my nickels. So, my N is number of nickels. And then, what's the value of my dime? 10 cents times the number of dimes. So, D is number of dimes. When I add that up, when I add up my value of my nickels and my value of my dimes, it equals how much? 440. Remember, we're moving the decimal over, so you're eliminating the decimal. So, what am I missing? I'm missing that number of coins. So when you don't have the number of coin, you have a relationship. When you have a relationship, where do you go? Go to the park. What do you go on the park? You go on a teeter-totter. All right. So now, can you put those away, please? So now, I want you to look. Here's the statement. I want you to do this part of the teeter-totter. Which one has more? Okay, which one has more? Dimes, 5 times as many dimes. So there's more dimes than nickels. Okay. So how do you make them equal? So I want the nickels to be brought down. So I have to put something over here to bring it down. What does this say? 5 times. So this is 5n. Do you have your notes? You should be writing all this down. Okay, so now there's my second equation. D equals 5n. D equals 5n. So what What method is this set up for? Substitution. This is set up for substitution. So what am I going to put this in for? D. So I have 5n plus 10 times, instead of D, I'm going to put 5n equals 440. Are you writing this down? All right. So now 5n plus 10 times 5n, 50n equals 440. 5n plus 50n is 55n equals 440. And when you divide, no, I'm not going to answer. So n equals, and when you divide, that's 8. So I know my nickels is 8. So now I got to figure out how many my dimes is. It doesn't bother me. I'm busy. I'm teaching lessons. Okay, so my dimes, I can substitute right in here. My dimes equals 5 times my nickels. My nickels is 8. So my dimes is how much? 5 times 8? 40. All right. So my check, we already put it into this one, so we know that that one's right. So we need to put the into the value. So you just multiply it times the value. If I have 8 nickels and they're each worth 5 cents, or 5 cents, so 8 times 5 is 40. And then if I have 40 dimes and they're each worth 10 cents, 40 times 10 is 400. If I add those two values up, 40 and 400, that equals 440. Did it get me to my value? Yes. So you know that it checks. Yes, you have to check. All right. The next one we're just going to set up. So label this number 8. Number 8. A vending machine takes only nickels and dimes. At the end of the day, there were 3 times as many nickels as dimes, and a total of $25. How much of each coin were there? So, what do we have? Do we have a number of coins? No. Do we have a value? Yes. So we have a value, and we have nickels and dimes. So I want you to write up the first statement. Write up the first statement, and since there's no number of, I want you to write up your teeter-totters and define your variables. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go. All right, so remember, this is a value. So when you put your nickels down, you don't just put it in, you need the value. 5n plus, what's the value of your dimes? 10d. So n is number of nickels. Yes, question. What's the value of a nickel? What's the value of a nickel? 5 cents. Value of a dime is 10. When you have a value statement, you need to attach the value to your variable. What's my total value here? Okay, so it gives you 25, but how many times are you moving that decimal place? 2 times. Remember, because This should be 0.10D. How many times did you move the decimal? Twice. So I need to put 2 zeros there. Question? What's that? I did. 440, I moved it twice. Okay? All right. Which one has more? Which one has more? Okay. There were 3 times as many nickels. Nickels has more than dimes. How do I make them equal? I need to put something here to bring it down. What am I going to put? 3 times, so 3D. So N equals 3D. Because I moved the decimal twice. Remember I told you that you're moving the decimal over on all of them? Why? Because otherwise it would be 0.05N plus 0.10D equals 25. Do you want to work with decimals? No. So you need to move those decimals over. Here's the decimal. You need to move it over and add the zeros. Okay? All right. Hold on. I got to take this. I'm going to substitute in for what? N. So I have 5 times 3D plus 10D equals 2,500. Okay, I want you to leave room underneath to solve. We're going to solve the rest on Monday. But this is for a warm-up. No, we're not done. We still have another type. So this is this, setting it up is the new part. Solving is the old part, what you already been tested on. Okay, let's go to the next type. So leave some space under this one. I want you to write number 10. Okay, number 10 is going to be just like the last 2 problems, 12 and 15. Okay, so let's read this. The sum of 2 numbers is 18. 7 times the first number minus twice the second number is 36. Find the 2 numbers. What do we know we have? What are we trying to find? 2 numbers. So we're going to say the first number. What can I use? Do I know what the first number is? What can I use? X. First number is X. The second number, do I know what the second number is? So what can I use? Y. So here are my 2 numbers. Now we're going to take those and we're going to write our equations. The sum of 2 numbers is 18. So sum means add the 2 numbers. What am I going to add? X plus Y. And how much is that total? 18. 7 times the first number. Here's the first number. So what do? 7 times that. Minus means subtract. Twice the second number. Here's the second number. What do? 2y. How much does that equal? 36. What is this set up for? Elimination. What do I multiply this by? 2, and it's going to be positive because these are already opposite signs. So 2x plus 2y equals 36. Now I can add down. 9x equals 72. When I divide, I get x equals 8. Okay, so 8 plus what equals 18? So y equals 10. And then you would do 7 times 8. This is the check. 7 times 8 minus 2 times 10 equals 36. So I have 56 minus 20 equals 36. What does this equal? 36 equals 36. So there's my check. It works. Here's my answer. Okay? Now, one last one. Put, oops, too far. Number 14. Put number 14. The sum of two numbers is 113. The difference is 83. You still have the two numbers. You're going to call X. The second one, you're going to call Y. The sum of two numbers is 13. How do I write that up? Equals 113. The difference, so it should say the difference between the two numbers is 83. So the difference is 83. So what do I write? X minus Y, this is the difference, is 83. So the only thing you need to remember is there's a 1 in front of all of these. I can add down because these are opposite signs, same coefficient. What's 1x plus 1x? The y goes away. Remember, you are adding these. So this would be 196.
So can you maybe go over, go through the sheet? Because I need to make sure that you have them.
I don't know what to tell you. Excuse me? Cool.